Caroline. First and foremost, she's French, which nobody needs to ever forget. After that, she's a climber, little explorer, becoming bigger, and probably somewhere low down on the list, my wife.
Good.
Low down on the list for you. For me, it's the top of the list, obviously.
The what? That I'm your wife?
No, that I am your husband.
So you're English, but that's not interesting.
No. No. But...
And you're explorer and accessorily a climber.
Accessorily a climber, exactly. So you should also tell why we're here in Spain right now, or in Madrid. Because that's an interesting story.
Yeah, we just, long story short, we wanted to go to La Pedreza because it's granite slab climbing.
And Caroline needs to practice climbing slabs.
Because I have
she's not very good.
I've set myself a project which is a high altitude granite route, and I have zero experience in granite, zero experience in slab.
High altitude is also relative.
Well, European high altitude.
Exactly. So yeah, so Caroline has a project on the Mont Blanc, on the Grand Capucin this summer coming, and
I need a belaying slave.
Yeah, well, I'm here for that. But the more interesting part of the story is that it's kind of in a totally opposite direction to the climbing that she's used to and her background as a climber. So it's not a single pitch, steep, overhanging limestone, but long, multi-pitch, slabby granite. So everything that she's kind of trained and worked on through her life as a climber before is not really very useful.
Might be a bit arrogant as a project because basically I have none of the skills.
But that's kind of what makes the project
fun.
But
yeah, so which means I have to acquire the skills.
Yeah, so this year we're starting on basically several journeys, several trips dedicated to Caroline's experience, widening that experience. So the first one is Pedrezia here to basically practice slabby granite, and so far it's going all right. It's okay. I mean, you're improving.
I've done a 6A. So the project that I have is the Voie Petit. It's the route from Arnaud Petit and Stéphanie Baudet and
freed by Alex
other. Yeah, and I don't know why I set myself such a project. I think it's more I have a lot of admiration for Stéphanie Baudet. So I find myself walking a little bit in her path. Because she's been to La Pedreza a lot as well. I come from Réunion Island where there's obviously no granite. And then I was in south of France where there's only limestone. So I've never ever climbed on granite. So I think if I just put one element after the other one, it's more efficient. If I start going well, first of all, it's winter, so there's no way we're going to train on the alpine granite multi-pitch now. And I need to acquire the skill of granite, which is really specific.
That's something really subtle.
Really learning what's the friction that is enough for a foot to become a foothold. Yeah, La Pedreza is not that different from what James grew up
in. It really reminds me of growing
gritstone and trad climbing in the peak is a lot about friction, testing the friction.
The same feelings and the same movements, and for so many years I've got used to now. Going climbing is all about the physical side of it. So you only fall off when you're tired or when your muscles can't do a movement. But here it's opposite. Sometimes you don't know why you fall off the routes, and at first it's incredibly frustrating, and then you start to really appreciate that. Somehow it's like the slabs are like a great leveler. It's like kind of no matter what your physical level might be in climbing, everybody can at least play on the same things here. Whether you have let's say a limestone level of 6A or 9A, you can all go in the same slabs and get the same feelings, especially the ones that are closely bolted. Like we were climbing the other day with this really cool team of people, some locals, Kara, myself, a guy from Sweden, and everybody had totally different levels of, let's say, a normal sport climbing level, yet we were all enjoying the same route. And even if some of us were maybe trying to red point the route and others were only trying to do the moves, you could still feel like you're experiencing the same thing, and that's something that's really, I find really nice and is not very usual in climbing. Because even with the best intentions, if you put a beginner on a hard sport route.
Yeah, but I
with the best
disagree
will
with
in
you.
the
If you
world, they
put
can't.
if you put a beginner in La Pedrisa,
Yeah, but
it's just more like we had the
you
same
develop quicker.
we had the same quantity of experience.
I don't agree. I think that you develop a lot quicker when you take away all the physical side, and it's just simply a case of understanding your body. You have the potential to progress much faster.
Yeah, you're kind of saying right now that everybody could be in the 8B in La Pedrisa, which is not true.
Not everybody, but a lot of people could potentially climb harder.
Be careful what you say here. I think James, very often when he falls in the route, is because he slips, because he's kind of over-trusted the friction. And I think I'm still really far from reaching that level of trust. Like all the time, I find myself falling backwards, but basically I didn't fall. I jumped out because I said in my head, it's not staying, and actually my foot hasn't slept. So I'm not, I don't trust the friction enough yet. But I mean, we had 2 days of slabbing, so. The life of a professional climber is a lot of climbing, but a lot of other things as well.
No, the life of a professional climber is becoming more and more complicated.
I would say one aspect that I don't enjoy entirely is the social media constant, how do you say, surenchère?
Yeah, the constant self-promotion. Basically, money becomes tighter, so money becomes more important for everybody. And with the birth of social media, it's easier than ever to shout about how good you are or whatever you're doing. And so now there's potentially a bigger choice for brands to work with athletes. And so there's more and more competition. And so you feel like you have to do certain things to justify your place. I guess the big question is like how far you're willing to compromise your own integrity.
Yeah, because by nature, a pro climber is a marketing asset for a brand. So the more visibility you get, provided it's positive visibility, the happier they are. But you as a person,
I keep telling Caroline she just needs to put some hot pants on and a tiny little skinny tops, and everything's going to be perfect.
And you, what do you do?
Me, I'm also.
He's going naked. He's going to start climbing naked. That's the new James Pearson.
No, that's going to put more people off.
That would work.
At least maybe a thong.
I'm sure it would work.
Tanga.
More in general, I think I like as a pro climber, I like to create a story and then find a proper way to share it, and it's quite difficult with the Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
So instantaneous.
You don't actually say your story, you say one sentence. And how do you share all the things you want to say in one sentence? I'm not good enough to have a sentence that is that good that it says my story in one sentence.
What we try and do, and what to us seems like a worthwhile use of our time and our energy is to tell stories that can inspire people to maybe go out and try and live a similar sort of experience. So not just talking about, how hard a route is or how many hours you've been in the gym or, all this stuff, but like genuine human emotions that everybody can relate to. And it's more and more difficult to do that, like Caroline was saying, in these little tiny, 15 seconds.
Yeah, we're the area where it's the other way around. Like 90% of the time you get one shitty-ish picture and the grade. And this is the message that is...
When you read climbing news,
and
because everything's moving away from us, sadly. We should have been born 30 years ago, Cara and I think we'd have worked really well together. Because for us, the best thing is books and the old style climbing magazines where, there were real stories because there were real characters. And nowadays, everything's instantaneous on the internet, and you see this person climbed this grade. And sometimes it doesn't tell you anything about the climb, it's just this person climbed this grade, and the grade has become everything, and that's, I don't know, somehow sad.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Maybe because we're not strong enough to do this, to do just that.
As well.
So
but I don't...
we're still battling a way to find
I
way
think
to tell these stories.
I mean, for sure there's a way. You have to find a way to say your story via social media, but it's... before even saying your story, you have to find a way to get the traffic towards your story.
Yeah.
So it's like the pre-fight realistically, you will get to live the dream life. There's a price to pay, and I think that's okay.
Yeah. I mean,
As a pro climber, I feel like we have much less pressure than the pressure I used to have as a competition climber.
Yeah.
So, because ultimately...
Pressure, it's more like I don't know.
No, I think ultimately it's just money pressure. And money is not, I mean, worst case, at the end of the world, you're not a pro climber anymore. If you're a con climber that's failing, it's your whole identity that's failing. Like if you want to be a world champion and you can't succeed to make it, it's not just a money problem, it's about what do I do with my life? There's a lot of women that climb better than me in X, Y, Z, but I take the time to share my story and to try to make my story interesting. You can be the best climber in the world if you don't want to pose for a picture. At the end of the day, nobody will know because this is how the world works. Being a pro climber is not about being the best climber, it's about being a very good climber and being able to communicate about it. I think when you're a competition climber, you learn you have to climb and you don't ask yourself in the morning, oh, do I want to go climbing? No, you just go climbing, that's all. End of the conversation. It's like a kid. You have to go to school, end of the discussion. And it's, I mean, that's the part, that's where climbing is a job still. We don't wait for the weekend and just think, oh, do I want to go climbing? It's where do we go climbing?